Why did you start this project?
For me, I thought it was a logical extension of the work I'd done with the community for the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples, which looked at economic development approaches in Winnipeg, which were being pursued by the Aboriginal community. It seemed to me to be logical to go one step further and to record the history of those institutions and the history of the people who are now elders who took the initiative to build the institutions. So to me it was just a logical extension of prior work in the field of urban Aboriginal economic development.
Oh.
If you were to explode a nuclear bomb in Winnipeg and all the fallout went across the country, that's what happened here. Basically with organization and stuff, it really, I don't, other people may dispute this, but it really started here. I mean, it was just, because we had, through the Company of Young Canadians and the Friendship Centre movement, we had connections with people across the country.
There was a Sister Margaret Hughes. Do you remember Sister Hughes? Margaret? She and another sister worked in the North End, and so somewhere I must have met Margaret, Sister Margaret Hughes, on a board, and maybe even your mother was involved in this whole area of housing for women, and we would sit around and talk about like what's really happening for women and violence in the community, and was there any place for them to go? And no, there wasn't. There was nowhere for them to go, and even the police weren't very helpful to them. And so we saw a real need in that area for housing to be made available, so that they could go somewhere when their lives were in turmoil. We were concerned as well about the children, of the violence that they would see, and they would be stuck in those home situations. And so we started lobbying the provincial government for if we could get a house for women.
I wish we had more time to celebrate, because we never really celebrated that whole idea, that the fact that here we were changing the system here, that that hadn't been changed for umpteen years, and we didn't really celebrate our accomplishment.
There was no time for a glass of champagne.
No potluck. No, we would just be on to the next thing, like it was tackling the next issue.
So much things to be done, or
we were paying $12,000 a month rent, $144,000 a year for space that didn't work for us. And at that time, nobody owned anything. The Friendship Centre was renting. The Aboriginal community was just sort of here, but didn't have any stake in the economic Winnipeg at all. And one day, the owner came into my office and said, sat down and said, "Wayne, can you get my check for this month? Can I have it early for rent? Because I have to pay my docking fees for my yacht in Kenora." I said, "Okay, Ruth, that wouldn't be a problem." But I was left with this kind of feeling that, as an organization, we really need to think about our impact, and from a fiscal and financial and economic point of view. And I thought, I wonder what other people, they're all renting. Native Employment Services was renting, and I called over to Marylene, and I didn't even know Marylene. We were fragmented a little bit, so we were a different place. I didn't even know her. It'll come to a meeting. So I called a bunch of organizations that were around and asked them to bring with them, the EDs, to bring with them what it cost them for rent, parking, like utilities, and got a number. We were close to 200,000, I think, when you put everything in the mix. Others were, we ended up with about a 500,000. Everybody else was smaller. And then we asked a couple of bankers to come in, and Montrose Financial, I think, and a banker, and said, what does this number mean to you from a bunch of organizations? He says, well, it means you could finance a $4 million building.
Well, I guess one of the things that I'm most proud of, and it's one that there's people don't know the full story. You were there, Children of the Earth High School, at the Freight House, that one of the elder youth conferences that we had. How powerful those young people were. And they were saying, we are tired of this. We want this, and we want this, and we want this. And one of the main things that they said, we want our school of our own. We want a place where we can go be with our own people and learn in our own way. And that was young people, like 16, 17, 18, 20, who were just tired. Tired of going to schools and feeling racism, discrimination, all the stuff that I've gone through that they were still going through at the time. Same bullshit. And they were saying, we're tired of that. We don't want that crap anymore. And they were saying, we want our own school. And we were there. You were there. I was there. Wilfred Buck, David Blacksmith, those same women, all of those same women in the Native Coalition, and a whole bunch of new people, including all of those young people, saying, that's it. And what we started to do is we organized. We organized and we started lobbying this Winnipeg School Division. We went to their board meetings and we filled up their gallery, and we spoke and we spoke and we spoke and we said, we want. And they resisted us. They resisted, and they continued to resist. And we lobbied them for 2 years, I think, maybe 3. We kept lobbying them, and we kept taking up the podium and taking up all of their time, and we forced them to finally listen to us.
It was important to document this before some of the original activists or organizers were gone, and that history was lost almost completely. So I think if you remember, Darrell, the advisory committee quite quickly said it's important to video the people who are left, so that that future generations can get a sense of what they were about, what they were like, so that part isn't lost.
You mentioned women were the leaders at this time because they brought academics and street smarts. I don't know if you could talk about that.
Well, we had, like, Kathy Mallett was the spokesperson, and there was a woman named Louise Champagne and Linda Clarkson that sort of in the background, shaped the path along with Kathy, and they moved forward with it. Very, very bright and very, very much into a really strong analysis as to what was going on.
So these women, if I recall correctly from our pre-interview, were able to speak to the other side, so to speak, on a equal level.
Oh yeah. They couldn't walk on these women. Like they were too bright. They knew the issues. They did their homework. And they pushed the issue forward.
The project that we've been working on, or I've been working on for the last 1.5 to 2 years, it almost complements the work that you're getting, the truth and reconciliation stuff that the university will eventually be getting, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you don't, while it's necessary and it's really important to get the records and the memories of survivors of the truth and of the Indian residential schools, you don't want to suggest that was the only thing that was going on in the Indigenous community. So it's quite important for us to show everyone, including people in the Indigenous community, that a lot has been accomplished, and particularly I think the 1970s was just a period of explosion. There was like a lot of activity and a lot of great things accomplished. And so, you know, it helps sort of balance out and to show what many of the people that started these activities were survivors.
I think when I look back, I think the thing is to really celebrate. I think that's important. That you celebrate the work that is being done in the community, and in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, and
Now you could have that champagne.
Yeah, champagne, right? And yeah, to celebrate and to acknowledge the people that you're working with.
And
Det går
glad-
kämpa möga.
Ja.
Ja, med mina. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
But, yeah.